A dish is worth 1,000 bites. And in each of those bites, there's a story waiting to be told. So today, let's look at the wild and wacky histories of some of our favorite foods. Everything we've ever eaten has had to have come from somewhere, be it in the ground, on the ground, or above the ground. From there, it was likely processed by professionals to make it palatable for patrons such as yourself. Now, what I did there was a technique called being condescending, a common training method used in kitchens around the world. Many a times we find ourselves enjoying a dish and thinking, how did this come to be? Was it years upon years of culinary training coming together in a moment of inspiration? Or did someone just f*** up and everyone went along with it?
No, it's not a good job.
If you're a trained chef such as myself, it's always the first one. Any mistakes that might occur along the ways of creating a plate of gastronomical art, the head chef, and only the head chef, would be the one responsible for turning it into a palatable masterpiece.
You can see all the individual grains. There's not enough butter in there. It needs more stuff.
Sometimes foods are created out of necessity. Other times by repurposing a byproduct of something else. And ever so often, it's my favorite reason. Spite. A not uncommon ingredient found in most dishes you might have enjoyed at a restaurant. Especially a chain restaurant. Especially around closing time. Especially if you want something gluten-free. Speaking of spite, one of the most famous examples of something delicious emerging from this emotion is Nashville Hot Chicken. Do you like spicy, greasy, shallow fried chicken? Do you also like infidelity?
The year 1930-something. The man, James Thornton Prince. The crime, Tom catting about town while his lover toiled away alone at home. She was a loyal woman, but she had enough. Knowing that Mr. Prince loved fried chicken, she did the unthinkable. She fried him up a piece of chicken. That tells you she might have been none to please, but she knew how to keep a man fed. Or did she? Because in addition to the usual spices she was seasoning her chicken with, she added in a secret spice. Spice! Thinking that'll show that sexy who's who exactly what's what, making him hot under the shirt and under the collar. When Thornton bit into that piece of chicken, however, he was delighted by what he found, positively adoring that combination of grease and spices and spicy spices. So much so he would go on to open up his own chicken business, taking cast iron pans, filling them all the way to the halfway point with lard, and then cooking up succulent cuts of poultry. Were he still around to this day, he would undoubtedly be helming the restaurant that bears his name. But unfortunately for him, he grew old and died.
Having been to Prince's, I can say from experience, it's pretty good. Just leave yourself ample time if you do go, because they do not start frying your chicken until you order it. Of course, in that time, you can get yourself a nice cold glass of almond milk. How do you even milk an almond? A drupe that famously has no teeth. How to make almond milk. For this we're going to need almonds. We'll take those almonds, throw them into a bowl, and then cover with cold water. If you're in a hurry, cover them in water and then bring them to a boil for about 15 to 30 minutes. After they're done soaking, they'll look something like this, which is almost exactly the same as they started. Take the almond soaking water and throw it down the drain, and then take the almonds and toss them into a blender. Then top that up with about 4 parts water to 1 part almond. And then send them to blend test. To make it smooth and milky, we'll strain it through a nut milk bag. If for whatever reason you don't have a nut milk bag, cheesecloth will do the trick. While that's straining, here's a little life hack for cleaning your blender. Add a little water, add in a little soap, and then just turn it on. Run it for about a minute and then just rinse everything out. Easy peasy cleanup. Back to our nut milk bag, we'll give it a good squeeze to get every last drop. If you're one of those people who hates flavor, then your almond milk is complete. If you do like flavor, you can zhuzh it up with a little vanilla and sugar and mix it all up. To thicken it up and make it nice and creamy, just add in a small amount of xanthan gum, gellan gum, or guar gum and give it a good blitz. Feel free to experiment with flavors. Maybe try dulce de leche, which, now that I'm saying that out loud, might defeat the purposes of why you made this in the first place. But it doesn't matter, because it's your almond milk. Almond milk has been very visible on store shelves in recent years, but what if I was to tell you it was very visible on store shelves back in the 13th century? Well, you would most likely, and rightfully so, call me a liar because the first grocery store didn't exist until 1916. The Piggly Wiggly down in Tennessee. Although it did exist at this time, with its first written origins being in a cookbook from Baghdad before shortly moving over to England, where it was enjoyed as a milk alternative during Lent. And during this time, it was used in all kinds of culinary applications, from soups to desserts, and most shockingly, beverages. In the most dire times, it was seen as a ye olde treatment for coughs and asthma. Knights were also a thing during this time, which means there's a very real possibility that these heroes of the British throne drank almond milk, which they probably washed down with a side of cheese. Cheese, in its most basic terms, is the curds that form when splitting milk and then processed in some way. A very funny pun that is not accurate because most whey is generally thrown out or turned into some kind of mass gainer. Cheese was, most likely, discovered by accident. One of the ways this accident could have happened is by storing milk in containers made out of the stomachs of animals. That might seem a little archaic in our modern era, but remember, we do still store meat in the intestines of animals different from where the meat is from. And it's pretty tasty. It will specifically have to be the stomach of a grazing animal because they produce an enzyme called rennet, and that creates the best cheese curds. And also, they happen to have 4 stomachs, so you can get 4 tummy Tupperwares out of one animal. And that's very efficient. You don't need rennet to split milk, as any acid will do the trick. Lemon juice, vinegar can all be used to make simple cheeses such as ricotta or paneer. Acid getting into milk is a second theory on how we got cheese. Although, even if that is the case, we still have to store milk in the belly of a bovine for some reason to discover rennet. Probably the belly of a baby bovine because that produces the best rennet and is used in hard cheeses such as Parmesan. So if you love cacio e pepe but hate veal, I've got some unpleasant news for you. Or not, because nowadays we use an artificial enzyme extracted from bacteria. But if you want the good Reggiano, find a place that also does a good cotoletta. And then eat it gingerly like you would eat ginger beef. Here, close your eyes. Now imagine the place that you think is the birthplace of ginger beef. Is the place you're imagining the Canadian prairie city of Calgary, Alberta? If not, then you imagine incorrectly. Bad work. You should probably get that checked out. Not only do we know the city it was created in, we know the exact restaurant, which was a Silver Inn back in 1975, and it was created by 2 sisters from Hong Kong. Like many great things in life, this was made by an educated oopsie when the chefs decided to combine the favorite food of Albertans, beef, and the Canadian staple of French fries. Likely unaware that McDonald's was already doing this, but in reverse. Lily and Louise, with the help of their brother, would thinly slice up beef, batter it up, throw it in the fryer, and toss it in a ketchup-like sauce. Like so.
How to make ginger beef. For this we're going to need beef. For the batter we're going to need cornstarch, flour, and baking powder. Then to make the sauce we're going to need ginger and garlic, brown sugar, soy sauce, vinegar, and black pepper. And then a few veggies to round out the meal. We'll start by making the sauce by sauteing off ginger and garlic. Once they're softened up, add in the brown sugar. And then just heat it up until it looks like delicious gingery, garlicky caramel. At that point, we'll add in our vinegar and soy sauce and bring it to a boil. To make it nice and shiny and double C thick, we'll make ourselves a cornstarch slurry, but be careful when you're mixing it, it is non-Newtonian. Then just cook it out until it looks nice and saucy. Finish it with a very cool one-handed pepper grind and then set the sauce to the side. And now for the meat of the dish. Slice the beef up as thin as you can, going against the grain, then toss into a bowl and dredge with flour. If you want, you can swap the flour for cornstarch and then deep fry it as is, but to make a batter like I did here, take the cornstarch, flour, and baking powder, then mix it all together. Make a little well in the middle and then add in water. Or sparkling water if you have it. Sparkling ginger ale water if you want to be risky. Then mix it until the consistency is battery. Now for the funnest and probably most dangerous part, the frying of the beef. Take the dredged beef, dredge it in the batter, and then into the oil. The oil should be about 350 degrees, and hopefully you have a thermometer that goes up that high. Which I do not. In this situation, use vibes. But as long as the beef is nice and crispy, you've done what you needed to do. Then just repeat the process with the rest of the beefs. But be careful not to overcrowd the oil, otherwise you'll just end up with one big ginger beef. While that's happening, we'll start stir-frying our veg. Once the veggies are cooked down and have a few burnt corners on them, add in your sauce. Finally, add in the beef and then give it a good toss. The key to a good toss is it's all in the wrist. Then toss what you just tossed onto some rice or noodles garnished with green onions, and there you have it. Homemade ginger beef.
This is a dish that very much has its roots not in typical Canadian fare. But these kind of culinary innovations are more common than you would think. Dishes such as chop suey, spaghetti and meatball, and tikka masala were all created by people going from one part of the world to another and then adapting their cuisines for the local palates. And in doing so, creating something that can be enjoyed by both cultures. Other times, the goal is much less noble, like the case with peanut butter. Technically, peanut butter has existed for hundreds of years. Although for most of its history, it was seen as an afterthought until a brave doctor who thought the general population was too horny for their own good would take peanuts, soak them for a while, and then blend them into a probably not very smooth paste. Then he would go on to serve this as a fun alternative to the salacious thought-provoker that was meat. Who was this heralded doctor? Well, none other than John Harvey Kellogg, who you might know as a cereal guy, or you might know him better as the sanitarium clinician who would regularly do things that had nothing to do with the well-being of his patients. Initially, it was seen as a bit of a delicacy because the technology to mass-produce peanut butter didn't exist. So at the time, it was only enjoyed by the elites, such as Henry Ford, Booker T. Washington, and Amelia Earhart. Eventually, one of his assistants, Joseph Lambert, would go on to create the technology to make it readily available for the masses, and then all the peasants could enjoy it too. Although I suppose if it reduces the amount of sin in the world, Dr. Kellogg is probably okay with it. Nowadays, you can just make it yourself. All you have to do is, let's make peanut butter. For this, we're going to need unroasted, unseasoned peanuts, or whatever you have handy. We'll take those and toss them into a food processor and then hit start. And honestly, that's about it. Just let it puree and occasionally scrape off the sides. While that's happening, let's do a peanut fact. Peanuts aren't nuts, but they are legumes, like peas. Okay, how is that butter looking? Looks like we made some progress. We still have a ways to go though, so let's do a second peanut fact. The furthest a peanut has been thrown is 156 feet and 7 inches. Okay, where are we at? Alright, that's looking buttery. We have that wad rolling around the middle, which is a good sign. Seems like we have just enough time for our third peanut fact. Charles Schulz hated the name peanuts for his comics and thought the word was stupid and undignified. Alright, it has to be ready now, right? Maybe a little bit longer. I'm on a peanut fact, so let's just skip to the part where it's ready and oh look, it's so smooth now! What's that? You wanted chunky peanut butter. Okay, not a problem, we'll just throw in some more peanuts, give it a quick pulse, and now it's got some texture. You can enjoy it hot out of the food processor or throw it into a jar and save it for later. Whatever you like with your homemade peanut butter. Well, that's it for this history lesson. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, maybe subscribe, perhaps leave a comment about a food that you're curious about the history of. And like a true chef, I will take that suggestion, put it on the menu, and take all the credit for myself. Because people aren't here for Charlie the Saucier's dishes, they're here for the chefs. It's just how it is. You get it. Anyways, bye now.